Hey guys, it's Eric with another episode of Enchanted Minds. Today we're going over the top 10 insignia bonuses for your DPS characters. So we'll start actually with an insignia bonus that's not on the list, guys. I'm just going to point this out in each of these videos. Wanderer's Fortune is something that every character needs, regardless of your role in the game. We do consider this the best insignia bonus in the game. You can see you have a 4% chance after killing a foe to find a refining stone at your feet. This seems to proc a lot more than 4% of the time, guys. It does seem to glitch. It seems like after a good half hour to an hour of playtime, it stops procking as much. We do recommend that you relog. Close the game down, open it back up. Oftentimes this will kind of reset things and get those stones dropping at the same rate that they did when you first logged in. So guys, if you don't have Wanderer's Fortune, get it. And now we are going to dive into your top 10 Mount Insignia bonuses for DPS characters. And we're going to jump right into it, guys. Number 10, we have Gladiator's Guile. So this is an ability, it's an insignia bonus that's going to boost your guys' movement speed by 15% when your stamina is above 75%, which is going to be most of the time, guys. It's a significant increase. Not every character needs this. A lot would also argue that you're taking away from potential damage in that slot. Guys, I get it. But on my control wizard, I do like to rock this. I do like that movement speed. If you've played a control wizard, you know they're pretty darn slow. So Gladiator's Guile, guys, if you need the movement speed, coming in at number 10 as a viable option. Moving right along, guys, number 9, Berserker's Rage. This one's probably my least favorite on the list. It is worth mentioning for certain builds that aren't going to be spamming dailies, that don't benefit too much from their daily abilities. Usually great weapon fighter who's thinking that it takes too long to cast Crescendo. Oftentimes they'll use a Berserker's Rage. So kind of a special situation. I don't personally like this, but it does have its place here on the list if your build calls for it. If you're not using your dailies very often, you don't care for them too much because you feel like you're doing more damage with your at-wills and your encounter power. So Berserker's Rage, 9 on the list, and that will bring us to number 8. Slayer's Redemption, guys. So you can see whenever you kill a target, you're healed for 10% of your maximum hit points over 5 seconds. This can be very, very nice, especially if you're in a higher level area like the Jungles of Chult, where you're able to be a little more self-efficient, self-sustaining. Good for soloing, guys. Again, you can make the argument that it's not good because it's not giving you any actual DPS, but very useful, comes in handy, guys. Number 8 on the list, Slayer's Redemption. Now, guys, going to number 7, one of my personal favorites. When you control an enemy, you gain 5% combat advantage damage for 10 seconds. This is very, very nice for certain builds, trappers. For my control wizard, it's pretty much always in effect, so it is one of my main 5. And if you're a class that's doing control, then I highly recommend this as well. Coming in at number 7, not going to work for every build. Super good for the builds that it does work for. Combatant's Maneuver, guys. Moving on, number 6 is Shepards Devotion. Guys, Shepards Devotion is whenever you use a daily power, your teammates' defense, deflect, and movement are increased by 5% of your power for 10 seconds. So this is the opposite side of the coin. If you do intend on spamming dailies often, then this is a very helpful buff. Rangers who have a lot of action point gain from their feats are going to find this particularly useful, especially with their action point gain not being, it doesn't cost 100% of your action points typically. It's going to cost 25, 50, some do cost 100, but you're always going to have a good chunk of action point gain as a ranger. So Shepards Devotion, guys, does have its place here, number 6 on the list, and that brings us into the top 5. And we will start, guys. Number 5 is, oh, I must have passed it. Number 5 is Alchemist Invigoration. Let's see, here it is. Whenever you drink a healing potion, you are granted 5% more power and defense for 10 seconds. So this is basically turning your healing potion into a buff. Obviously, if you prefer greater stones of health, this is not going to benefit you, but it is a nice little free buff. If you're popping potions, you can even do it intentionally and get this buff. Particularly useful for characters that have very, very high power. So it's not going to be the best for every single build. For a GWF power build, any other power build, it's going to make quite a bit of sense to go ahead and pick this up if you have room for it. Moving on, guys, number 4, Assassin's Covenant. Assassin's Covenant, you lose 10% of your defense, deflection, and lifesteal, and gain the combination of lost stats as power. So this can equate to quite a bit of power, guys. It is very, very nice for most DPS characters, especially those who are pumping a lot into one of these stats, whether it's defense, deflect, or lifesteal. You can make this quite a big buff for yourself. So coming in at number 4, Assassin's Covenant. Which brings us to the top 3, guys, heading off the top 3. Third on the list, Magistrates Patience. Whenever you perform a critical strike, your target will gain Magistrates Consideration. Enemies affected by Magistrates Consideration take psychic damage equal to 10% of your power over 4 seconds. So again, going to be a little more helpful for power builds, but again, it does only proc on the critical strike, which you should be doing pretty much all the time for most DPS builds. So this will be proccing constantly, which does add a little bit of damage, but since it's constant, it turns into a pretty decent amount of damage over the course of, say, a dungeon. So coming in, guys, at number 2, this is a must-have pretty much for any DPS character, Protector's Camaraderie. So Protector's Camaraderie, whenever your summoned companion attacks, you gain 3% of your power and defense for 10 seconds. This effect can stack up to 4 times. So guys, this is basically giving you 12% of your power and your defense when you're in combat. This is a huge, huge buff, guys. Protector's Camaraderie coming in at number 2. And I will also point out the common version of this, guys, is also pretty useful. Protector's Friendship. Your summoned companion attacks, you gain 1% of your power and defense for 10 seconds. This can stack up to 4 times. So guys, this Protector's Friendship for a power build is nice, because if you didn't know it, you can't stack these bonuses effectively. So if you had 2 Protector's Camaraderie, the second one only gives you 0.5%, a 0.5%. So this Protector's Friendship is a way to circumvent that and get yourself another 4% power and defense when your companion attacks. So nice little trick there with that Protector's Friendship that we'll point out. Again, probably only going to work for straight power builds because you are losing an Insignia, but it is nice to be aware of that. So guys, that brings us to number 1, your top DPS Mount Insignia bonus. Right now during Mod 12 is Cavalry's Warning. And let's see if we can't find it here. Obviously already passed it. There it is. Whenever you activate a mount combat power, you gain an increase of 10% to your power, recovery, armor pen, critical strike, defense, deflect, regen, and lifesteal. This is a massive buff, guys. Basically buffing all of your stats by 10%. You can't go wrong. You do have to have a legendary mount in order to activate a mount combat power, guys. But this is a huge buff. So if you have a legendary mount, you certainly want to equip Cavalry's Warning right away, guys. And that rounds off your top 10 DPS Mount Insignias, guys. So if you have any questions, comment down below. We'd be happy to help you out. Or if you need help in-game, also comment down below. Outside of that, guys, please hit the like button, subscribe if you have not done so already. And as always, guys, may the drops be ever in your favor. Eric out.